Shelley Mockler. I'm a Pilates instructor here at River City Pilates in North Liberty, Iowa. I'm also a physical therapist at the University of Iowa. And today I have with me Carrie Sadler, who's going to be my participant in our Pilates class for seated Pilates. So this is a program that I originally developed for people that have shoulder weakness or hip weakness and have a difficult time standing for a full Pilates class. But really this is a program that's appropriate for anybody that's looking for something to do in a seated position. You could do it at the office, do it while you're traveling and don't have a lot of space to move. It's a really nice way to get your back moving, get your spine moving, do a little bit of exercise without getting down on the floor or without standing and using up a lot of space. As with any exercise program, if you have concerns about this or you have a medical problem that might dictate special requirements, we recommend that you check with a physician or a therapist locally before starting an exercise program. So today we're going to start with some breathing exercises. So I'm going to have Carrie sit up nice and tall, sitting as much as possible up tall on her sit bones. Nice big lifted spine if possible. Arms really can be in any position. In the lap is a great starting position, but wherever you're comfortable. And we're going to start by looking at taking a big expansive inhale. So as Carrie inhales, she's going to think about expanding her rib cage side to side, front to back. And as she exhales, she's going to let that rib cage kind of fall back down. If possible, she might think about engaging abdominals a little bit. So as she takes a big inhale, she's thinking about that rib cage, chest expanding nice and wide. As she exhales, she might think about just a gentle engagement of the abdominals, thinking about belly button coming towards the spine that little bit. We'll do a few more big breaths here. Just going to take a big inhale and big exhale, thinking about squeezing all the breath out as she does that exhale. We'll do one more breath with our breathing. Big inhale and exhale. She's going to squeeze that air out. So the breathing exercise is really a nice way to get started with your Pilates workout. It's really something you can do any place, anytime. So even if you don't want to do the rest of the workout, starting with that breathing exercise can really give a nice inhale, exhale, expansion of the spine, get things moving a little bit more than we do with our just regular breathing on a day-to-day basis. So from here, we're going to take Carrie into some shoulder exercises. So I'm going to have her start with shoulder shrugs, thinking about inhaling and lifting shoulders up towards her ears a little bit. Exhale as she pulls shoulder blades down, thinking about relaxing them down and even maybe a little bit of a pull down. Inhaling as she lifts shoulders. As she's exhaling, she's thinking about her shoulder blades coming down her back. And we'll do a few more of those. This movement can be small or big. It really doesn't, not concerned necessarily about how big of a movement it is, but how well you're moving, how much engagement you're able to get. And we'll do one more like that. Big inhale as she lifts shoulder blades up. Exhale as she pulls them down her back. And then we're going to take this into some shoulder circles. So thinking about starting that same way, inhaling as she lifts shoulder blades up, rolling those shoulders back and coming down the back. And we'll do a few more in that direction. Inhaling, coming forward as she lifts up. Exhale as she rolls back. We'll do two more in this direction. Nice. And last one, rolling shoulders forward, pulling shoulders down or back. And then we're going to reverse that movement, starting by pulling back and lifting up. And then she's going to bring those shoulders forward. Again, thinking that more about can you get that engagement in small motion. Carrie's doing a nice big movement to demonstrate today. It doesn't have to be this big if this is a movement that's challenging for you. Any small movement is great. We'll do one more in this direction. And exhale, Carrie's going to relax a little bit. From here, we're going to take this into a little bit larger shoulder movement with flexion and extension. With all the exercises we're doing today, keeping this in a range that works for you. So in Pilates, we often talk about what we call a working range or a working level, which is how far you can move and still feel safe and comfortable and feel like you have nice alignment. So it's not necessarily how big the movement is, but more, can you control the movement? Are you moving in a range of motion that's comfortable for you? Gives you maybe a little bit of a challenge, but not working into pain, not working into a place where you feel like you're really challenging yourself too much. So Carrie's going to start with some small movements and then we'll add on to those. So as she inhales, she's going to think about about lifting arms up in front. And exhale, she's gonna bring those arms back. Again, maybe they're even, maybe they come back behind her a little bit. We'll keep those small for the first few, inhaling as she lifts forward. Exhaling as she reaches back. She's thinking about backs of the arms pressing back behind her. We'll do a few more as you go. If you feel like you can increase that range, you can go bigger. You can always stay with that small motion, thinking about backs of the arms pressing back as you come back. Inhaling as she comes forward, lifting arms to her working level. Exhaling as she reaches back. And then we're gonna start to take this into a little bit faster movement for an exercise in Pilates that we call the 100. So the 100 can be done in a lot of different places. We can do it laying on the floor, we can do it sitting, we can do it standing. So today we're gonna demonstrate that standing, but it's a little bit faster movement. Today we're gonna keep kind of a medium pace movement. So as Carrie inhales, she's gonna pump arms back and forth. And then as she keeps pumping, she's gonna exhale. So we might think about, could you take that inhale for 3 pumps to start with? And exhale for 3 pumps. Inhaling for 3 pumps. And exhaling for 3 pumps. And then maybe you take that a little bit bigger if you have that ability to go maybe 5 pumps as you inhale. And exhaling as you pump for 5 pumps. So again, keeping those movements. This one especially isn't necessarily how big of a movement Carrie has, but can she keep that nice alignment while she's pumping? And particularly thinking about that breathing. So aiming for 5 pumps on an inhale, 5 pumps on an exhale, and we'll do 2 more like that. Big inhale as Carrie pumps for 5, exhale as she pumps for 5. We'll do 1 more, inhaling for 5, and exhaling for 5. Excellent, good. And from here, we're gonna go into a roll down, roll up. So again, this can be done in many positions. Today we're going in a seated position. We're gonna start with Carrie sitting up really tall. And as she starts to roll down, she's gonna think about tucking her chin and then rolling down, thinking about rolling down 1 vertebra at a time or 1 segment of her spine, working level as far as how far down she goes. And then she's gonna start stacking that back up by starting by rolling up low back, middle back, upper back, and her head is gonna be the last thing to come back up. I like to start with a big inhale before I roll down, but really it's more important that you keep breathing. So I like to inhale and then exhale as I roll down. Using hands for support as needed as you roll down and especially as you roll back up. Inhaling as Carrie comes back up and stacking her head up tall at the end. We'll do a few more like that. Exhaling, Carrie's gonna roll down, thinking about keeping length in her spine as she rolls down. And then stacking back up, using muscles as possible, but also arms can be a nice assist here if needed. We'll do 1 more like that. Exhaling as Carrie rolls down. And then inhaling as she stacks everything back up. Good. So from our seated roll down and roll back up, which is more of a flexion exercise, adding some extension to that, we're gonna add in what I'm gonna call a seated swan. So Carrie can have hands on her lap. If you have room on the side of your chair and wanna do arms beside you, that's another nice option to get a little bit of engagement. Arms at the side is also very nice. So we're gonna start with some extension into swan. So as Carrie inhales, she's gonna tip her head back. Think about opening through the front of the chest. And then exhale back to a neutral spine position. So as she inhales, she's thinking about that roll back and really thinking nice open through the front of her chest, back extends, exhaling as she comes back up. For a lot of us, we might have some extension in the low back, really thinking here that we're aiming for that extension in that upper thoracic spine. So can we open the front of the chest a little bit more, which is sometimes a little bit more challenging place to get that movement. I'm gonna have Carrie do 1 more like that. Inhaling as she extends. And exhaling back to neutral. And then from here, we're gonna take that into kind of combining those 2 movements, our flexion and extension, into what we're gonna call a cat-cow exercise. So Carrie's gonna start the same way. Hands can be on knees, again at side if that's more comfortable, like the knees can give you a little bit of support. She's gonna start with her extension by inhaling into her extension and inhaling, she's going to ground forward, rounding through the back at a comfortable level. She's going to inhale, thinking about opening through the front of the chest. Exhaling, rounding through that low back, thinking about curving a nice rounded curve. Inhaling as she extends, we're thinking about, can we keep that a nice symmetrical curve the whole way? And as she's rounding, trying to find those spots where maybe it's a little bit sticky and breathing into those areas. We'll do one more like that. Inhaling as she extends, thinking about keeping her length in her spine as she goes. And exhaling, even as she's rounding, thinking nice long spine, belly button pulls to the spine to help through that low back. And we're gonna do one more like that. Inhaling as Carrie opens up, and then exhaling again for that little extra challenge, thinking belly button to spine will help round through that low back. And then we'll have Carrie come up nice and tall. Good. From here, we're going to take this into a little bit more of a flat back hinge. So we've done some rounding through the back, some extension, some flexion. We're going to take this into a little bit of a challenge point where Carrie's going to do a hinge back and thinking about this, really thinking, can she engage those abdominals? This one in particular, I think, is one where we're going to keep it small to start with. So Carrie's going to hinge back a little bit and exhale as she comes back up. Doesn't take a big movement before you start to feel those abdominals want to kick in and control that movement. You can go to your working level. So Carrie's done Pilates for a long time. She's starting to go a little bit bigger, which is great if you have that control. So you're going to inhale as she hinges back. Exhale as she comes back forward. We'll do two more like that. For an extra challenge, if you want to kind of play with that end range or hold that little half-second pause at that end as you come back up, you'll feel that bonus little bit of abdominal engagement. We'll have Carrie do one more. Inhaling as she hinges back. Exhaling as she comes back forward. Good. So we're calling that a hip hinge or a flat back hinge. Can be done again in a variety of places. The chair is a really nice place. Hands on the knees, again, if you feel like you want a little bit of hand support on the sides, that's another nice place where you can add a little bit of support to help you, especially with that coming back up if needed. So from here, we're going to take this into a side flexion. So we've done some flexion, extension. We're going to start to add in some lateral movement and some twisting in our next exercises. For all of these, if you have shoulder weakness, feel free to adjust your arm position. So I'm going to have Carrie start with arms down by her side, and we'll progress to a little bit higher arm position. So starting off, we're going to start with a side flexion, or in Pilates, we often call this a mermaid movement. So as Carrie inhales, she's going to lengthen over, up and over to the side, and exhale, stack back up. And then we're going to alternate sides. So as she inhales, she's thinking about lengthening her spine even as she side bends up and over. Exhale, stacking back up. Just for a different view, I'm going to go along with Carrie here. We're going to inhale as you lengthen up and over to one side. Exhale as you stack back up. And then inhaling to the opposite side. Exhale as she stacks back up. And as Carrie goes, she can start to think about lifting her arms up if that feels comfortable. So inhaling, arms to a T position. It's nice to be able to bring this upper arm up and over if you have that flexibility and strength. Exhale as you stack back up. Always fine to stay with arms down the bedside if this one doesn't feel good. So again, inhaling, lengthening up and over to one side. Exhale as you stack back up. We'll do one more to each side. Inhaling as Carrie goes up and over, thinking about keeping that length in her side waist. Exhale as she comes back up. And she's thinking about anchoring that opposite hip so that hip stays down as she comes up and over to the side. Very nice, good. So we've added in our side movement. We're going to start to add in a little bit of twisting movement. This is another one where arms can be down in your lap, at your side, as we progress up nice and tall. So Carrie's going to start with arms in her lap. She's going to take a big inhale to get ready. As she exhales, she's going to start to twist to the side, thinking about the shoulders being where we're adding that movement. And then exhaling back to the middle, big inhale. And twisting as she exhales, thinks about her shoulder blades moving. Big inhale. Exhale as she twists. Big inhale to the middle, exhale as she twists the other side. We're gonna keep going with this and have Carrie start to lift arms up. Kind of our traditional position is a T-arm, but arms can be out here. Even when you're moving those arms, we're still thinking that that chest wide is what's moving. We're thinking about where the shoulders are going. The arms are a little bit of a bonus. So adding those arms is fine if you have that strength. It gives you a little bit of extra arm work. But really, we're still thinking about that twisting coming through the trunk. So inhaling in the middle, exhaling as she's twisting. She's thinking about, can she get a big exhale? Add that last twist. Inhale. As she exhales, she's thinking, can she squeeze out all that breath? So it's a nice long movement. Inhaling in the middle. We'll do one more to each side. Exhale. As she twists, she's thinking about squeezing that air out as she twists. Big inhale as she comes back to the middle. Last one here. Exhaling as she squeezes all that air out. Good. And then arms back down by their side. So we've done arm movement, a lot of trunk movement. We're going to add in a little bit of movement for legs. So even in the seated position, there's some nice leg exercises we can start to add in. The one we're going to focus on today is one about moving hips out or apart, or hip abduction, which can be some muscles that are tend to be weak in people that have hip weakness. So Carrie's going to place her hands on the outside of her knees. If you have props at home like exercise bands, resistance bands, anything like that, you could certainly use that, but hands work great and it gives you a little bit of added shoulder work to kind of resist that. So Carrie's starting with feet about shoulder width apart, maybe a little bit narrower wherever you're comfortable. From here, hands are on the outside of the knees. As she inhales, she's going to think about spreading her knees apart. Her hands are adding some resistance to that movement. And then exhaling, she gets to relax kind of to that middle position. So as she inhales, she's thinking knees are pressing apart into her hands. Exhaling, she's giving a little bit of release of that tension. Do a few more like that. Inhaling, you can grade how much resistance you give. A little bit's fine if you feel like you want to give more. Again, kind of that balance between shoulder work of squeezing in and leg work of pressing out. We'll do two more like that. Big inhale, pressing out. Exhale as you relax. And one more. Good. With all of these exercises, you can add in some bonus ones. You can go through the video a couple times if you want to do extras. We like to say with Pilates that you don't have to do a lot of repetitions to get some work, but certainly these exercises, you're not going to overdo it as long as you're monitoring your body. But I like to say start with a few repetitions, see how that goes, and then adjust from there. You can always do a few less, you can add a few more in. So now that we've done a little bit of all the kind of upper body, trunk, and legs, we're going to finish with a little bit of a roll down, roll up. It's always, in my opinion, kind of a nice way to finish with a little bit of movement through your spine. So Carrie's going to go back to the seated roll up and roll down that we did. So she's going to take a nice big inhale, exhale, rolling down. If she felt comfortable, she could take legs all the way to the floor and really kind of move through that motion. And then as she takes an inhale, rolling back up. Again, you're working level how far you want to go, especially with this last one. I like to keep it in a range that feels comfortable. We're kind of cooling back down, finishing our workout with some nice movement, but making that movement feel comfortable, feel good, and play around again with that rolling down, exhaling as Carrie rolls down. Hands can come all the way to the floor if you have that flexibility and feel safe. And then inhaling as she stacks back up. On this next one, we're just going to have her hold down there. So she'll take a big inhale, exhale as she rolls down. Again, if it feels comfortable for you to go all the way hands to the floor, you can take a few breaths in this rounded forward position, rounding through the low back, reversing some of that lordosis or curve in the low back that sometimes is present. And then whenever you're ready, taking a big inhale and starting that stack back up all the way to the top and head up to finish. Great. So that's our seated Pilates workout for today. If you have any questions, feel free to contact us, make some comments in the notes, and we'll get back to you. Thanks for playing along. Bye.